What if I told you one of the biggest war movies ever made was almost as chaotic behind the scenes as the battle it shows on screen? In 1977, A Bridge Too Far brought together one of the most insane all-star casts in Hollywood history to tell the true story of Operation Market Garden, a mission so ambitious it was literally called A Bridge Too Far. But what happened off camera? Real war veterans on set, actors clashing over million-dollar shooting hours, and explosions that even the stars didn't see coming. Today, we're diving into 20 hidden facts that make this epic war film even more unbelievable than the history itself. Let's get into it. 1. The Too Far in the title was real history. When people first hear A Bridge Too Far, they think it's just a cool movie title. But it actually came directly from a real historical quote. The phrase was reportedly said by Lieutenant General Frederick "Boy" Browning, meaning the Allied plan to seize all the bridges in the Netherlands really was pushing it too far. That pessimistic comment became the title of the book by Cornelius Ryan and then of the movie itself. 2. Legendary cast with a catch. One thing this movie is famous for is how many big stars showed up. Sean Connery, Michael Caine, Robert Redford, Anthony Hopkins, Gene Hackman, James Caan, you name it. But here's the twist. They all agreed to work for the same weekly pay so the budget wouldn't explode. That's pretty unusual for Hollywood even today. 3. The movie was a massive budget gamble. This film wasn't cheap. In fact, it had a huge $25 million budget back in the 70s. Adjusted for inflation, that's massive. A big slice of that went straight to actors. At one point, Robert Redford alone was earning $500,000 a week for his tiny part. No wonder so many faces you know show up, even if only for one scene. 4. They filmed on the actual locations. Here's a real cool thing. A Bridge Too Far was largely shot in the Netherlands, in many of the same cities where the real World War II events took place. Nijmegen, Deventer, Zutphen, and other Dutch towns stood in for the historical bridges and battlefields. That's a level of authenticity you don't always see in war movies. 5. They couldn't use the real Arnhem Bridge. Crazy but true, the production wanted to film at the real Arnhem Bridge from World War II, but modern development had surrounded it. So they used a similar bridge over the IJssel River in Deventer and painted it and dressed it to look like wartime Arnhem. That's commitment. 6. The parajump scenes actually used real airplanes. The airborne assault scenes weren't CGI because CGI didn't exist yet. They used real Dakota C-47 troop planes to film paratrooper drops. The production had to buy and license these vintage aircraft just to make these scenes happen, a logistical challenge worth bragging about. 7. There was $1 million hour. One of the biggest battle scenes, the assault on the Nijmegen Bridge, had to be shot between strict time constraints. The film crew was only allowed to shoot it between 8 and 9 a.m. due to local traffic, and if they missed that window, rescheduling would have cost over $1 million. Yep, just 1 hour of filming nearly broke the budget. 8. Some extras were real World War II vets. Not all the big names on set were actors. A few real veterans of Operation Market Garden were actually present on the production and worked as extras or advisors. That gave the movie an unusual slice of real-life experience on set. 9. Attenborough actually appears on camera. Director Richard Attenborough stayed mostly behind the camera for this massive production, but he did sneak in a very brief cameo as a lunatic spectator wearing glasses. It's a blink and you miss it moment for fans with eagle eyes. 10. Michael Caine got an on-set surprise. Michael Caine's character rides with a scout car, and suddenly the movie explodes tanks behind him, and he didn't know it was coming. The director didn't tell him about the special effects, so Caine's startled reactions are literally his. That's some old-school filmmaking right there. 11. Sean Connery almost walked off the set. Here's some behind-the-scenes drama. Sean Connery was so upset that Robert Redford was making way more than him that he actually briefly went on strike until his pay was bumped up. Hollywood ego, but also kind of understandable. 12. Real World War II figures helped on set. Not just veterans, actual generals and historical figures connected to Operation Market Garden advised the production. That helped the filmmakers make battle plans, dialogue, and strategy scenes feel more grounded and realistic. 13. Tanks were a problem and faked. The film needed lots of World War II German tanks, but only a handful were left. So the crew used real ones when they could and plastic molds on modern vehicles for many others. Military buffs still argue about how accurate that looked. 14. The Sherman tanks had to be rebuilt. The production team didn't just rent tanks, they actually rebuilt obsolete Sherman tanks and World War II equipment so they would work in scenes. That kind of detail made the battles look gritty and real, but also took huge time and money. 15. There were huge uniform and wardrobe needs. The costume department created over 2,200 military uniforms from scratch. That's because real World War II-era uniforms in that kind of quantity were almost impossible to find. When you see those big battle scenes, that's a huge wardrobe army behind it. 16. The BBFC forced edits for UK release. The British Board of Film Censors made the UK version cut out some strong language and intense violence so it could avoid an adult rating. Some bloody shots were trimmed or removed. What you see on some versions differs depending on where it was released. 17. The composer had personal history. The film's Oscar-winning composer, John Addison, wasn't just someone who wrote music about war, he actually served in XXX Corps during the real World War II operation. That gave the soundtrack a haunting authenticity few others could achieve. 18. The film was a box office success despite mixed reviews. Critics were mixed, and some thought the movie was a tad too long. But in theaters it still made a lot of money, becoming the 6th most popular movie of 1977 in the United States. A win for war movie fans. 19. The production injected millions into local economy. Filming in the Netherlands wasn't just good for the movie, it brought millions of pounds into local Dutch towns, hotels, catering, equipment rentals, and daily services. The locals weren't just extras, the production became a big source of temporary business. 20. Some historical details are actually mistakes. While the movie tried hard to be accurate, some scenes feature period mistakes like parachutes that didn't exist in World War II, or tiny details that mill history fans still laugh about. Even with all that research and consultation, perfect accuracy was basically impossible in such a huge film. So there you have it, 20 hidden, crazy, emotional, and totally fascinating facts about A Bridge Too Far, 1977. From real soldiers on set, plastic tanks, and director cameos to payday drama, historic recreation, and wardrobe armies, this film was a production as epic as the battle it portrays. If you're a war movie fan or just love deep dives into film history, this movie's backstory is almost as good as the movie itself. A film that proved war epics can be just as powerful in their quiet moments as they are in their massive battle scenes. From its incredible all-star cast to the staggering realism of the battle sequences, this movie didn't just tell the story of Operation Market Garden. It brought one of World War II's most ambitious and tragic missions to life on a scale Hollywood rarely attempts today. Decades later, the film still stands as one of the most ambitious war productions ever made, with real locations, thousands of extras, and a commitment to historical detail that continues to impress audiences and historians alike. It's the kind of movie where every rewatch reveals something new, a hidden detail, a powerful performance, or a small historical touch that reminds us how massive and complicated this operation really was. If you enjoyed discovering these hidden facts, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into classic Hollywood history. And until the next video, keep exploring the stories behind the movies that made history.